So the other day, the AFL released the new fixture for 2021, and I looked through it just to see who the Eagles and Dockers played twice and what double-ups each team has. And I also read an article on Fox Sports, some of the experts rating the difficulty of each team's draw. And I couldn't help but notice how uneven some of the double-ups were for each team. Yes, I get it. There's 18 teams playing a 22-game home and away season. You're never going to have it completely even. I get that. But what I don't get is why Port Adelaide, who finished top, remember, avoid playing Richmond, Geelong and Brisbane 3 times, and then you've got a team like Saint Kilda who have to play the whole lot twice. Or in the case of Brisbane, they play them once, but it's at the Gabba. I mean, I just find that weird and strange, and it's just like some teams have a very easy draw and others have a very hard, and it's not even dependent on their performance here. I mean, you'd understand if Richmond had the hardest draw and Adelaide had the easiest, but that's not even the case here. So currently the AFL has a system to determine which teams play each other twice by splitting the competition into thirds. The top third, the middle third and the bottom third. That's based on last year's rankings. And remember, it's the semi-finalists, all the semi-finalists that are in the top 6. So what essentially happens, you must play 2 to 3 games between other teams. Sorry, you must play 2 to 3 teams in your own third twice. 1 to 2 teams in the middle third twice. If you are in the middle third, 1 to 2 of the top and bottom thirds twice. And in the case of the top third and the bottom third, they can only play one from the opposite third 1 time only. That's the current system. But then you have a case like Port Adelaide playing Collingwood and Saint Kilda as their 2 top 6 teams. Well, you had a team like Saint Kilda, poor old Saints, they have to play Richmond, Geelong, and who was the other one? Richmond, Geelong, and Port Adelaide 3 times. Plus, they also played the Eagles from the middle 6, and they were our finalists, remember. So, yeah, despite the fact there is a skeleton out there, it's not very consistent and it's not very fair. It is a hard argument whether you should reduce the amount of games or keep it at the same level. Because in one sense, yes, a 17-game season is fairer. And we've seen with the 22-game season, teams that are already doing bad and have hard draws do even worse, whilst teams that everyone think are crap just shoot up into the top 4 just because they get to play the bottom teams twice. But then on the other hand, we don't get enough games. I mean, a 17-game season would be way too short. So you kind of need the balance. So what are the solutions? Solution number 1, make a 19-game home and away season to start off with. Basically what happens in the first 18 rounds, each team plays each other once and also have 1 bye. And basically after round 18, the AFL used that ladder after round 18 to determine the remaining double-ups. Now, why did I mention round 19? Because it would obviously take at least a week to sort everything out for the next 4 rounds. So while they're sorting that out, the AFL squads can prepare for round 19, which will be rivalry round. It's like Eagles, Dockers, Adelaide, Port Adelaide, Carlton, Richmond, Collingwood, Essendon, all those games essentially. Rivalry round would be basically rivalry round, and rivalry round, which would be round 19, would stay the same every year. But that round would count as one of the 5 matches in that double up. So let's say Eagles finish in the top 6 and Dockers finish in the bottom 6 after round 18. The Eagles don't actually get any more games against the bottom 6 teams, given that they already play Fremantle in round 19. That's an example. So that's one way of doing it. Do the whole fixture where each team plays each other once and their rival twice, and then use their ladder, that ladder after round 18 to determine the last 4 games. The benefits of this plan is it gives the AFL a better idea of where clubs are at, so that they basically schedule them with other oppositions fairly dependent on the current season's performance rather than the previous seasons. So yeah, it gives the AFL a better idea on who each team should play twice. But here's the disadvantage. Teams that are good could tank into like 7th or 8th spot, get games get an extra game against the bottom 6 side and then shoot back into the top 4. So we might have a tanking issue. So then there's solution 2. Every team plays each other once throughout an 18-game season, plus the bye. And then after round 18, you split the competition into 3/3. The top 6, middle 6, and bottom 6. Top 6 basically fight for home rights, double chance rights, all that for the finals. Those top 6 sides will automatically qualify for the finals, but they're basically playoff themselves, basically for those rights. The middle 6, they play each other for 7th and 8th spot to make the finals, and the bottom 6, they just play for draft picks. And instead of the wooden spooners getting the first pick, it's the team that wins out of that mini bottom 6 tournament that gets the top pick, just as an extra incentive to win. It is beneficial because teams don't tank, and they're playing against other teams at the same level as them, and they're all fighting for the same prize here, and it means you won't have dead rubber games. The only real issue I see with this, though, is that the season ends earlier. We already know that 6 teams will make finals. Only 2 other teams actually can make the finals. And what if, 13th spot misses out by 1 game? The other issue is that there might be an uneven amount of home games between team to team. So Port Adelaide might only get 9 games. Brisbane might get 14 home games. Or maybe you could see an instance where Port Adelaide played Brisbane at Adelaide Oval twice in the same season, for example. So if the AFL doesn't want to go with either option and keep things the same, then at the very least they could just schedule the double-ups in a way that it's more appropriate, more fair. For example, there were 4 clear... The 4 clear best sides last year were Port Adelaide, Brisbane, Richmond, Geelong. There were no other teams that got near those 4 last year, okay? So those were the 4 best sides. This year, each of those 4 teams should play 2 other teams from that bracket at least twice, okay? For example, Port Adelaide might play Geelong and Brisbane, for example. And the other thing, let's not have it so that one team has to play both grand finalists from the previous year. How about every side in, let's say, the top 10 have to play a grand finalist at least once? No, exactly once. So 5 of them get Richmond and 5 of them get Geelong, for example. Similarly, don't give a team both Adelaide and North Melbourne. Some get Adelaide, some get North Melbourne, okay? You can make sense of this on the table I've currently got up there, but I feel like that would have been a more appropriate fixture double up here. It also still accounts for derbies like Sydney, GWS, West Coast, Fremantle, and it's still flexible enough to give you that. But yeah, I just feel that the AFL just needs to be more appropriate. And also, how about the 2 semi-finalists? They only need to play 2 teams from their top 6, not 3 teams. I feel they're only semi-finalists. I feel that's a bit harsh if you give them a Premier's fixture for the next year just for making the semi-finals. So I feel like, yeah, 5th and 6th spots should only have to play 2 top 6 teams, in my opinion. So that's about it. Hope you liked the video. Please subscribe, please like, please comment what you think of the video down below and what is your opinion on this double ups topic. Should it be a 17 round season, 22 rounds? Should we start with 17 rounds and add the next 5 later? Or do we just need the AFL to be smarter with scheduling the double ups? Check out some of my other videos and I will see you next week on the Tuesday Talk. Goodbye.